Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this Hard Talk podcast on Inner Love Trauma Channel, where I talk about how to deal with and recognize narcissists and narcissistic behavior. My co host, Eric, will be joining in this discussion today. Narcissism, a personality trait that shapes relationships. But what if it's the final act that truly reveals its devastating impact? Today, we're exploring the chilling reality of a narcissist's last words and the lasting scars they leave behind.
Oh, that's a heavy topic. What made you want to dive into something well, morbid?
Well, it's a side of narcissism that often goes unexplored. We tend to focus on how narcissists behave in life, but their behavior in the face of death can be equally revealing and potentially more damaging. Let's start with one of the most common phrases: I forgive you.
Wait, I forgive you. That sounds positive on the surface. What's the catch?
Exactly. It sounds positive, but it's actually a subtle form of manipulation. By saying, I forgive you, the narcissist is implying that you've done something wrong, that you're the one who needs forgiveness. It's a last ditch effort to maintain control and shift blame, even in their final moments.
Hmm, so it's like they're rewriting history, making themselves the victim one last time?
Precisely. And it puts the other person in an incredibly awkward position. Do you accept this forgiveness for something you might not have even done? Or do you challenge it and risk appearing ungrateful or confrontational during someone's final moments? It's a classic no win situation that narcissists are experts at creating.
That's wow. I never thought about it that way. Are there other common phrases or behaviors we should be aware of?
Oh, absolutely. Another common theme is bitterness and self pity. They might say things like, look at all I've done for the world, and this is how it ends. It's as if they believe they should be immune to the natural course of life and death. Their sense of entitlement is so profound that they see their own mortality as a personal affront.
That's fascinating. It's like their narcissism is so deeply ingrained that it overrides even the most fundamental human experiences.
Exactly. And then there's the flip side. Some narcissists double down on their grandiosity in their final moments. They might say things like, you'll never meet someone like me again, or this world wasn't big enough for me anyway. It's like they're trying to write their own eulogy, ensuring that their perceived greatness lives on even after they're gone.
So it's all about control, isn't it? Even in death, they're trying to manipulate how they're perceived and remembered.
Absolutely. And it goes even further than that. Some narcissists will use their final moments to give instructions to their flying monkeys, people they've manipulated throughout their lives, to continue smear campaigns or ensure that everyone knows about their accomplishments. It's a way of maintaining control even beyond the grave.
That's chilling. It really drives home how all consuming narcissism can be. Are there any statistics on how common this kind of behavior is among narcissists?
Well, while there aren't specific statistics on end of life behavior in narcissists, studies have shown that narcissistic traits tend to remain stable throughout life. A longitudinal study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that narcissistic traits were relatively stable from young adulthood to middle age, with only a slight decline in later years.
So, what you're saying is if someone's been narcissistic throughout their life, they're likely to maintain those traits right up until the end?
Exactly. And it's important to note that while we're discussing these patterns, they're not universal. Some self aware narcissists might express a desire for reconciliation or say inspiring things, but it seems that's more the exception than the rule.
This is all so heavy. Is there any hope for people dealing with a narcissist in their final days?
Absolutely. The key message here is that these words only have as much power as we allow them to have. It's easy to get caught up in the narcissist's web, to let their words haunt us long after they're gone. But ultimately, we have the power to reject those messages, to send them back where they came from.
That's such an important point. It's about reclaiming our narrative, isn't it?
Exactly. The narcissist might try to write our story for us, even from beyond the grave, but we have the power to pick up the pen and write our own ending. It's about recognizing these patterns and actively choosing not to let them control our lives or our memories of those who've passed.
You know, that's really empowering, but I imagine it's not an easy process. How can people start to reclaim their narrative?
Well, it often requires time, patience, and sometimes professional help. Dealing with a narcissist, especially one who's dying, can bring up a complex mix of emotions: grief, anger, relief, guilt. It's okay to feel all of these things, and it's okay to seek support in processing them.
So it's not just about the narcissist's final words, but also about how we deal with the aftermath?
Exactly. One approach might be to consciously reframe the narcissist's final words. Instead of taking them at face value, we can try to see them for what they are: a final attempt at control and manipulation. It's about changing the narrative from "these are important last words" to "this is just another example of narcissistic behavior."
That's a powerful perspective shift. It's like deprogramming yourself, isn't it?
That's a great way to put it. It's about unlearning the harmful messages and replacing them with healthier, more realistic ones. And this process can be particularly challenging when dealing with a dying narcissist because there's often a societal expectation to forgive or reconcile with dying individuals. But it's important to remember that you're not obligated to do this if it's not healthy for you.
Mm-hmm. The pressure to reconcile or forgive can be intense, especially when someone is dying. But forcing forgiveness when you're not ready can be incredibly damaging.
Absolutely. It's about setting boundaries and protecting your own mental health, even in these difficult circumstances. And it's okay if those boundaries look different for different people. Some might choose to maintain contact with the dying narcissist, but limit their emotional engagement. Others might decide that no contact is the healthiest option for them.
It really underscores the importance of self care in these situations, doesn't it?
Exactly. And part of that self care might involve seeking support from others who understand what you're going through. Support groups for people dealing with narcissistic family members can be incredibly helpful. They provide a space where you can share your experiences and feelings without fear of judgment.
That's a great suggestion. There's something really powerful about connecting with others who've been through similar experiences.
Absolutely. And it's not just about coping in the moment, but also about long term healing. Dealing with a narcissist, especially one who's dying, can leave lasting emotional scars. It's important to give yourself permission to heal at your own pace and in your own way.
You're right, healing is a very personal journey. There's no one size fits all approach, is there?
Not at all. Some people might find therapy helpful, others might turn to meditation or journaling. The important thing is to find what works for you and to be patient with yourself in the process. Healing from narcissistic abuse, whether it happened recently or in the past, takes time.
And I imagine that healing process might look different when dealing with a narcissist's final words. There's a finality to it that might bring up different emotions.
That's a great point. The finality of death can bring a mix of emotions: relief, guilt, anger, sadness. It's important to allow yourself to feel all of these emotions without judgment. And remember, feeling relief at a narcissist passing doesn't make you a bad person. It's a natural response to the end of a difficult relationship.
That's such an important reminder. I think many people struggle with feelings of guilt in these situations.
Absolutely. And that guilt can be compounded by the narcissist's final words, especially if they were manipulative or blame shifting. That's why it's so crucial to have support and coping strategies in place. It's about learning to trust your own perceptions and experiences over the narcissist's narrative.
It sounds like a challenging but ultimately empowering process.
It really is. And while it's not easy, it's incredibly important for long term well being. By learning to recognize and counteract narcissistic tactics, even those employed in someone's final moments, we can break free from toxic patterns and build healthier relationships moving forward.
That's a powerful note to end on. It's about turning a painful experience into an opportunity for growth and healing.
Exactly. And as we wrap up, I want to remind our listeners, if you're dealing with a narcissist in your life, whether in their final days or not, there are resources available. Professional help can be invaluable in navigating these complex relationships and emotions. Your experiences and feelings are valid, and it's okay to seek support and prioritize your own emotional well being.
Well said. This has been a deep and insightful discussion. Thank you for shedding light on this complex topic.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us for another episode of Hard Talk Podcast. We hope this discussion has been insightful and perhaps even healing for some of you out there. Remember, you have the power to write your own story. Don't let anyone else hold the pen. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Don't forget to like this video. It's a free way to support.